everybody? It's Mr. Parlove, the Realtor, coming at you with another episode. Today's guest is a good friend of mine, Mr. Clayton Roberts Jr. Want to thank you for the time out today to allow me to do this here. I really appreciate it. So we're definitely going to get into some things right away. Got the book Super Dad. It's definitely a great read. Highly recommend it. It's available on Amazon. Do you have any more physical copies left?
Yes, I have plenty of copies left physically. Like you said, you can order it on Amazon. You can order it through my website, allthingsfatherhood.com, or you can get it directly from me. I have plenty of copies. So.
All right, that's good to know. So this book takes a deep dive into your journey into fatherhood, the system that is set up for failure, and lessons learned. Um, Even though everybody's story of being a dad is different, as well as mine, I can relate to a lot of your story. How did you come up with the idea for Super Book or Super Dad?
Well, realistically, I went through a really bad child support custody battle a couple of years back over my daughter, and it got a little ugly, I guess you could say. And I felt like I was being treated unfairly by my kid's mother by trying to drag me back through that system. And it inspired me to write about it because I felt like other dads could probably benefit from my story and the information I had to be able to basically, essentially, win my child support case.
Right.
I ended up getting my child support reduced. It initially got put up to about $800 a month for just my daughter. But because of all the things I put in place prior to that last court custody battle that we ended up having, the child support battle, I was able to basically protect my financial wealth,
right,
and get my child support lowered to the accurate amount based on the time I was spending with my children. So
right.
I feel like, you know, the younger generation could have benefited from some of this knowledge that I had, and I figured I'd write a book about it.
Yeah, well, that's cool. And you kind of already like went into some things that made you decide to write the book. Is there any other things besides that, or just that was kind of like the main focus that had you decide to write the book?
Well, you know what I mean? I majored in English in college, so I always wanted to be a writer. Like that was like a thing that I wanted to do. But realistically, I don't write the book without my wife. Like
Right.
she encouraged me to actually to really push it out there because she felt like the story needed to be told. I don't think I would have wrote it without her. Honestly, she's the one that was like, you know, you really should write this so people can. There's people out there that can relate to your story. And,
Right.
um, I didn't want to do it. I actually started writing it and I had to put it down because of how personal I get in the book. And there's a lot of things that I was reliving that I didn't realize was traumatic for me. And so I put it down for a few months before picking it back up. And then if it wasn't for her encouraging me, I don't know if I would have ever finished it. So
Right.
realistically, it was a representation for not just myself, but my children and me wanting um, to basically let them know, hey, look, there's things that you can do in this life, and I want them to see a positive example, and being able to write the book is one of those positive examples.
Yeah, and when you mentioned some of those personal things, I, kind of understood what you were going through because you mentioned to me about that before, and not everybody really knew about that circumstances, but you'd go into detail into the book as well. So I can relate as well to having a wife to push you to do something and keep you focused, especially like that's how I got into this podcasting thing. She pushed me, and here I am now.
Right.
So, did you have any obstacles or struggles in this process?
Honestly, no. I pretty much knew what I wanted to write about. The only real obstacle I had, I guess, was myself.
Right.
Well, let me take that back. I had two obstacles.
Mhm.
It was contacting my son to tell him some of the personal things that I was going to write about because it directly impacted him. And I
Yeah.
didn't want him to find out just through the book, but it was always something that I had told myself I would never tell my children because whatever me and their mom went through, I wanted to keep that between me and her, even though she didn't always do that. She would tell the
Yeah.
kids stuff about me,
Right.
but I never wanted them to know about some things that happened between us. And there were some things I write about in the book in relations to my son and my daughter that I didn't want them to find out in the book. So that
Right.
was an obstacle. Calling him, it was a hard thing to do. It was kind of hard to tell him something because it I guess I would say it might make his mother look in a bad light.
Mm.
And I never wanted to do that to him. I never wanted to put him in a position where he had to view her a certain way. But this particular situation happened, and it's the truth. And so, I wanted to write about it because it's part of my experience with him. Um, and I just didn't want him to be hurt by it by finding out in the book before I actually talked to him. So that was one of the hurdles and obstacles I had to get over, and building the confidence to be able to actually tell him that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it was a difficult thing to share with him because he was extremely silent after I told him, that. And, um, he handled it well though, and
Mm.
it didn't impact his relationship with his mother or me. So that was one of the obstacles.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a touchy situation as well because, as the kids get older, you kind of want to tell them some things so they can understand, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you don't want to seem as if you're speaking ill will about
Right.
their mom or anything when it's not really the case. Because sometimes so many of the stories are like one sided,
Yeah.
and you kind of do get to the point when they get to a certain age, you want to tell them some things, but then at the same time, you're like, how can I approach that, or even how the kids may handle that. So,
Right.
I think a lot of people can kind of relate to that as well. So, what was your purpose of the book?
The purpose was basically just to educate dads. Really, realistically, it was to um, encourage any age father to make sure you're there for your kids. Like,
Yeah.
it don't matter what you go through with that kid's mom. I know you can go through hell. Like I've been through some particular situations that would have made me look at the situation with my kid and just been like, you know what, I could walk away from this, right?
Yeah.
But that's not when you become a parent, when you become a father or a mother. Your duty is to those children. It's not to each other. Relationships
Hmm.
fail. That happens. That's part of life. Um, Hopefully, you can be cordial with parent, but regardless of the situations that you're going through with the significant other or the ex or whatever, um, your duty is to your children. And
Yeah.
so, I wanted to write this book and encourage dads. Like, look, I went through a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? But that's not an excuse for you to walk away. And here's, I talk about why you should actually step up and be a part of your kid's life. I present statistics in the book to support my thesis, I guess if you want to call that. And I think as a man and as a father, growing up without my dad in a sense, because he was killed when I was a teenager, which
Hmm.
I know how much of an impact we have on our kids' lives.
Right.
And I feel like, I wanted to display that story because we don't have enough positive narratives about fatherhood
Hmm.
out there. It's a lot of negative, especially in our black community. So
Yeah.
um, I wanted to push that out there to let people know, like, just be there for your kids no matter what you go through. Life is hard, but it's more rewarding to actually do the work, be a part of your kid's life, than it is to walk away from
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's something I could always relate to as well because even though my circumstances is not yours, it's similar because as a kid growing up, sometimes my father wasn't there as well. And, just from that, I knew how it felt. Like my friends would have their dads and stuff.
them. Mm-hmm.
And, when you're such a young age, you could kind of be like, oh man, you don't understand it. But then as you get older, you kind of understand it as well. But it was something once I maybe got to maybe like late elementary or early middle school, I was like, I didn't plan on having kids, especially that early. But uh, well, not, let me rephrase, I didn't plan on having kids, especially in middle school and things like that or
Right.
elementary. But it was like when I do get further along in age, to where I did have kids, I made that self to my promise to myself, like I'm always gonna be there for my kids no matter what, because like I said, I kind of could relate on a father not being there all the time, so I didn't want my kids to have that feeling as well. And so many times, like you said, it's easier for somebody to walk away, especially if things aren't going right in the relationship with the person that they're having kids with. But you gotta. I think that's something like you mentioned. You gotta take care of your responsibilities, and like I said, I made that promise to myself, so I didn't want to let myself down. And things have been a difficult journey with that as well. But you got to just keep moving forward and keep pushing. And like you said, it's so easy to just walk away, whether it be the person that you're dealing with, or even the institutionalized with the on the government side, as
Right.
far as like child support. Sometimes you'll be like, man, I'm doing my child support, that's it, and kind of walk away from that too. So it's definitely a big responsibility, but it's even get more gratitude out of being there, for your kids and things like that, and try to get them to be better than you were as you were growing up.
Right.
So how long did it take you to complete the book?
I'd say total process 6 months.
It's
It
not
wasn't
bad.
long. It wasn't like a couple of years process. Like I said, I knew exactly what I wanted to write about. It was just pretty much lining up everything the way that it flows, right?
Right.
And so, I wanted the first half of the book basically to be, you get to know me, you get to know why I'm writing this book, right? And I
Yeah.
think I do a pretty good job laying all of that out. And then the second half of the book is basically why I wrote the book. It gives
Yeah.
you statistics. It gives you why you matter as a father. It gives you some of the lessons I learned. To try to give you some advice on things to avoid and things to do.
Mhm.
So it took me about, I'd say, total time 6 months. The process was fairly simple. I self-published, so I did that through Amazon KDP. That was pretty straightforward. It wasn't anything complicated. Um, so yeah, the total time about 6 months.
That's not bad. With that being said, we're going to fast forward a little bit to the book being a blueprint for the documentary that you released back on February 24th at the Celebration Cinema Rivertown location. And I had the pleasure of attending the film, which was called All Things Fatherhood, which I thought was amazing. How did you come up with the idea for the documentary? Was it transition from your book, or did you have certain things like I'm gonna do this separately, or
Yeah. So as I was writing the book, the idea for the film, I guess you could say, was born. The idea for my organization was born, which is All Things Fatherhood, right? And so I initially said, you know what, I just want to start a YouTube channel, and I wanted to interview dads, right, and ask them questions about being a dad and stuff like that. And if you chose to walk away from your kids, why you chose to walk away. I wanted a full center narrative. And
right?
then from there, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna just do a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Never had plans on like releasing it in theaters or anything like that, but I just said I'll put it on my YouTube channel and we'll go from there. Well, obviously the book just birthed a business for me now. Like
Yeah,
you said, the movie was released at Celebration Cinema. It's entitled "Generational Fatherhood: A Candid Conversation." I wanted to grasp the aspect of fatherhood from as far as I could, that the oldest generation, which the oldest man in the film was 68 years old, down to the youngest fathers that I could get to participate in the film,
mm-hmm.
which that was a 32-year-old father. So you got a wide ranging variety of thought and opinions on
Right.
what fatherhood looked like. And all of that was born from the book. Um, I never intended to be a filmmaker. I never intended to uh, do all of that. It initially just was going to be a YouTube channel where I interview that. And I'm still going to do that process of it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have this whole filmmaking idea centered around that movie. That documentary was the first of a 4-part series. So um, I'm looking forward to the future when it comes to all things fatherhood and the generational fatherhood documentary series.
All right, so we could pretty much look forward to some more of those couple
Absolutely.
films coming up.
Yes.
That's good. And this might sound rhetorical, but what made you decide to release the documentary?
Um, I thought it was going to be beneficial for dads, and not only dads but mothers. I felt like I said about the book, we get a bad rap. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Without any understanding. You know, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but mothers can do no wrong, right? No matter what they do, they are always in the right. It seems, right?
hmm,
And they get a lot of credit. No
right.
matter what happens with the child, they get all the credit, and we get all of the negative
Yeah,
attention.
kind of like
And so it's
backlash.
like I wanted to be able to say, you know what? Nah, man, y'all gotta understand what we go through. We human too, just like y'all is. And so when y'all make mistakes, y'all get grace and forgiveness. But when we make mistakes, we the worst people on the planet. We deadbeats. We ain't trying to be there for our kids. Like there's more to this narrative and story than y'all telling, and y'all telling one side.
Right.
And I didn't. I got tired, I guess, of hearing one side because I
Hmm.
know that fatherhood is nuanced, and there's so many different lanes and narratives to this whole entire journey. And now I'm not here to advocate for anybody that walks away from their kids,
Right.
but the point of the entire film was to show, look, first of all, there are factors that impact us as men in society and why, hey, why we could either be present with our kids or we couldn't be present with our kids. And the movie does a great job of, I mean, I think you can vouch for that, of literally telling those
Yeah,
stories.
it
You get what
definitely
I'm saying? So
does.
that's pretty much what it was.
Right. And like some of that information that's in that film, a lot of people don't even know,
Right.
just on the fact of one-sided narrative, and both sides sometimes aren't out there, equally the same. So it's kind of great that that gives more insight in the film to that.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to finish the film?
Whew. So we recorded over the course of 2 days, about 7 hours worth of film. Um, Avari, Avari Simpson, I think you know Avari, you know his parents at least.
Yeah.
Um, he's who I hired to do the editing process and take my vision and put it together. Took him a couple months to actually get that together, all together. So in total, we started filming in November, and he completed in January.
Okay.
So a couple months it took.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be happier with the product. Like the kid literally captured everything I wanted, and I gave him full, like total creative control. So you kind of never know what happens when you do that, right? And
Right.
he's 21, and so he's not a parent either. So I didn't know if he would be able to like understand the dad story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he did a great job of taking everything I told him and making that film great. Like I think a lot of people thoroughly enjoyed it, and the
Yeah.
kid has a very bright future. So if you're looking for any film projects or anything like that, Barry Simpson is who you want to go after.
Yeah, definitely. So did you feel that you left out anything as far as like the book or the film, or anything you may have could have done different?
Um, no, because anything that's left out in the film was intentional because of the future films.
Right.
So um,
Kind of
I'm a
didn't
very
want to.
calculated person, so I don't really miss like as far as, and if there's something I did miss, it was most likely intended for
Intentional.
you to ask those
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
I've gotten, trust me, I've gotten a lot of them, and I'm like, you gotta wait for the second movie. You
Right.
gotta wait
It's
for the
kind of
third.
like you ain't
Like,
want
and
to.
it's the same with the book. A lot of people are like, well, I wish I could have learned more about this. Well, that's why there'll be a second book. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, you can't give the audience everything,
Right.
right? So
Can't put your eggs all in one
one basket,
basket, is the
exactly.
old school saying.
Yeah.
So if you could go back and tell your younger self anything, or give yourself some advice, what would it be?
Be patient with yourself. When I was young, I was full speed ahead. Um, I was trying too hard to be a version of myself that, because I was a young father and because my dad was murdered
Mm.
and because I came from the streets, I was trying to find out who I was too fast.
Right.
And because of that, I made a lot of mistakes. And I think if I would have just slowed down, kind of enjoyed a little bit of my life,
Hmm.
um, not put so much pressure on myself,
Right.
um, things would have been a little bit smoother in my life,
Mm-hmm.
not as complicated and as hard as I kind of made it for myself in certain aspects. But um, that's probably what I go back and tell my 18-year-old self or younger self.
Yeah, that's good advice. So something that runs with me, and it's kind of crazy, is that how great dads that are always in their kids' life, or at least continuously making the effort, seem to get a bad rap, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, or what's your insight on that?
Society, once the narratives get to running, man, it's easy to start labeling people things that they may or may not be. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could not pick up your kids one time because something happened in your life, and next thing you know, you're the worst father on the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because that's what is easy to be said. You watch
Mm-hmm.
television, you watch TV series, movies. It's not like you see a lot of great dads in these films. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't, especially being a black father. It's not like you see a lot of great positive black men. Everything on television today, you're a gangster, you some type of deplorable person,
Yeah.
and so when you do actually see anything like that, it's very rare. And
Mm-hmm.
then, like I said, society pushes these narratives, and I don't blame women for attaching themselves to it, but like I said, if you make one mistake or two mistakes, all the blame is on you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're labeled something because it's an easy word to be called. Like it's just kind of how it is in conflict. And if you're not with somebody who's mentally mature enough to handle those situations properly with you,
Mm-hmm.
then you get labeled things.
Right.
Um, but it's up to you to kind of like not buy into it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part because part of uh, men in our society, we have kind of allowed these narratives to be painted without any pushback. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to push back.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely.
what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to push back because too many great fathers out here, too many good men out here for us to keep allowing these stories to be told like we're just not anything and like we don't matter in our children's lives because we absolutely
Yeah. And then it also kind of seems like we don't might not have a support system, especially as us being men, because society's always viewed as like you got to be tough, you got to be the macho man, you got to hide your feelings. None of that exists, but we're in a day and age now where things are totally different from how it was, 30, 40, 50, 60 years
do.
ago.
Right.
And I feel that us as men can be emotional as well and not be afraid to express our emotions, because you hold that up, it's like a ticking time bomb, and at any moment you can just explode.
Right.
So it's kind of a good thing, not kind of, but it's a great thing that you have going on here, especially with the social club here that I'm gonna get into in a second. But before I do so, I just wanted to put the people up on some other things you have going on. Like I know you have some spices for cooking, and you like to cook and things like that. What made you decide to get into coming up with the
My
spices?
wife. All of this is my wife. I cook a lot. I do not most of the cooking, but a good majority of the cooking in the house. I've always wanted to open up my own restaurant and everything, and we were having barbecues and stuff at our old crib when I was living in Grand Rapids, and
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh, well, I'll buy this, I'll buy this, I'll buy this." I never ever thought about putting this together, but my wife, she bought one day. I got a shipment from Amazon, and it had a bunch of bottles, and I was like, "What the heck is this for?" She's like, "You gonna make some spices? She's like, you gonna sell that?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so that's kind of how that happened.
Hmm.
And I have two basically signature blends right now that I'm going to put out here towards the end of the month. Working on a couple others, but yeah, that's kind of how that came about. And I'm just an entrepreneur, like Jay said, I'm a businessman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, whatever way I can try to, create, generational wealth for my family, I'm gonna get to it. So I've had enough feedback from people that really enjoy it, so I said, why not sell it?
Yeah. And I've been to, some of the cookouts you had as well, and I'm like, season right chicken and of the different types of meats and things like that. So I'm always feel like I'm blessed to come around things like that. You beat me to my next question. I was going to ask you when you was going to release the spices, but you said kind of earlier, the end of this month,
Yeah, it was
or
supposed to be on the 16th. I was supposed to release them on the 16th, but my labels, I thought my bottles and my labels were coming together, and apparently they were not. And so there was a
kind of
misunderstanding there, but I'm still waiting on my labels to come. So um, once that happens, then I'll officially launch. But until then, and I have no idea when they're coming because they haven't given me a shipping date yet.
yeah, kind of build up more suspense though for the people.
So
Do you have a name for what you're going to call
yeah,
them?
it's called Rub and Grub Seasoning.
Okay,
The barbecue rub is called Sweet Heat, and then just a basic all-purpose rub. So
all right.
those are the two I'm launching officially first. I have a fajita blend that I'm working on, a Texas style rub that I'm working on, and I also have a jerk seasoning that I'm
Oh,
working on.
okay.
So
Yeah, sounds pretty good. I'm excited to try those out. Let's see what else here. Would you like to elaborate on anything else that you're working on at the moment? I know you mentioned a few things, but I want to know you also kind of want to keep things a little bit secretive. Like we said, you don't want to put all
yeah,
your eggs in one basket at the moment.
well yeah, like with the all things fatherhood, I have a couple, two more showings coming up in April. One
Mm.
in Muskegon, one here in Grand Rapids. Um, Planning a dad and kid spring mixer in May, and then a Father's Day barbecue in June. So keep an eye out for those things. That's part of the organization. Um, got a lawn care business that I'm building a clientele base for right now. So if you need your grass cut, holla at me.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely coming up.
yeah, that's about it. The
Springtime.
spices, lawn care, all things fatherhood, this book. I'm a very busy man these days. So
Let's see. And then lastly, as we mentioned, you have the Fatherhood Social Group, which meets once a month that you started roughly about 3 months ago. Is that right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And could you briefly describe what made you create this group and why?
Yeah, so this today is actually our third meeting, and wasn't my idea to be honest with you. It was the guys in the film's idea. They wanted several of them were like, "Hey man, keep this going," because
Yeah.
like if you see in the movie, we have the group discussion or whatever, and they felt like this was like something that was beneficial. So if it wasn't for them, me and you wouldn't be sitting here today, obviously, because
Right.
I again I didn't anticipate doing this aspect of the fatherhood thing. It was just supposed to be uh, YouTube and film. And
Yeah.
so now it's an organization, and the social club is basically a safe space for dads. Man, it's come out, hang out for 2 hours, eat some food, some refreshments. Let's talk dad life, man
Yeah.
life. Have a safe space to enjoy yourself. Whatever topics you want to discuss, we can discuss. Um, and it's just for us. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
we need a space for us. Life's hard, so
Yeah, it definitely is.
I really wanted to make sure that I kept something for us to be able to, vent or just basically have fun. So
Right. And shout out to those guys in the film. I know a couple of them personally. Some of them I don't. Some of them I met last month when I came to the club. So it's definitely a good thing to see, especially us as men getting together to where we can discuss about certain issues and have a safe space as you mentioned and just get some of those feelings out. I know you're on social media and all that good stuff. Can you please let the people know where they can follow you and stay up to date with things that you have going on? And you have any merchandise available as well?
merch is out. I do have merchandise, but it's out. You can basically find me. My website again is All Things Fatherhood Inc. at allthingsfatherhoodinc.com. I'm on pretty much every social from LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. You can search All Things Fatherhood on there. I have a business page which basically is just my name, Clay Roberts Jr. You can search me there as well. My email is allthingsfatherhoodinc@gmail. So if you need to reach me, that's how you can do so, or through the website. So those are the best ways to get in contact with me.
And what's the YouTube channel you got?
Oh yeah, that's All Things Fatherhood. So you search All Things Fatherhood on YouTube. Right now, the only things that are on there is the trailers for the movies. So if you want to check those out, go right ahead. I think you'll enjoy it.
That's cool. Before we wrap it up, is there anything else you would like to mention or something that we may have missed?
No, man, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be interviewed for your podcast, man. I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
Like I
I
tell you all the
appreciate
time,
that, man.
we go way back, and I've seen a lot of your story, been a part of your journey, and I'm just proud of the man you are today and where you've come from. Because you could have given up a lot of times as well, and so I'm just grateful to have a really good friend who's never given up on himself and that's continued to try to be a great man. So
Yeah,
anytime you need me, bro, I'm here.
I appreciate that, and I'm proud of you as well. Like you said, we've been friends for a long time. We've seen each other change and evolve from early to late teens, early 20s, and things like that. So it's definitely a blessing to be where we're at today because things happen in that amount of time as far as people we know, people we were cool with and stuff, and it definitely was a rough journey, but definitely glad to be where we're at, and I appreciate the time that you took out, and sure we'll have something coming up
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
All right, thanks again.
No.